Last night in Marjorie Taylor Greene's former congressional district in Georgia, a Democrat won. That's right, the top vote getter in last night's election in that very conservative, Trump-supporting district in Georgia was Democrat retired Brigadier General Sean Harris. General Harris will face Trump-endorsed Republican Clay Fuller in a special runoff election on April 7th to replace Marjorie Taylor Greene in Congress. In other good news for Democrats in Georgia, our next guest, Senator Jon Ossoff, is leading in a new poll that shows Senator Ossoff at least 9 points ahead of all the potential Republican candidates included in that poll. Donald Trump went to Kentucky today to try to convince people that he has delivered on his promise of lower prices, even though gas prices are now skyrocketing and inflation has increased because of Donald Trump's unconstitutional and illegal tariffs. The Trump staff actually put a sign on the stage with the words "lower prices" in front of an audience full of people who paid higher prices for gas to get to that event today. MS Now's Will McDuffie spoke to voters in Pennsylvania about the price of gas.
Around about 45, 50 cents more today than last week, almost 5 days ago.
That's a lot in a short amount of time.
Yeah, that's a lot. If it keeps going, it's not going to be good.
As for right now, I'm less than a quarter of a tank, so it's between getting gas or going to the grocery store to get food for my kids.
I actually stopped driving because gas prices have gone so high. I can't even afford to really go to work, so I've resulted in taking the bus now.
Joining us now is Senator Jon Ossoff, Democrat of Georgia. He's a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee, the Senate Appropriations Committee, and the Rules Committee, running for re-election this year. Senator Ossoff, what do you make of those results last night in Marjorie Taylor Greene's district with the Democrat coming out on top?
Lawrence, thanks for having me. And first of all, I want to tip my cap to General Harris and his team for the campaign they're running. And it just speaks to the intensity of mobilization and opposition and outrage that's directed at this administration, and not just among Democrats, among independents, and increasingly in Georgia among Republicans, who privately and more publicly are speaking out against this administration, its failure, its corruption, the chaos that it's sowing across the country and around the world. And look, Georgia is the front line. Georgia is the most crucial battleground state in the country. And, you know, this result last night shows the momentum that we've built, but some of the recent polling, you know, you put some up on the screen, I got to correct that. One of my opponents, a congressman from coastal Georgia, he's just 3 points behind me. This will be, despite the incredible momentum we're building, the tightest, hardest fought U.S. Senate race in the country this year. And I'm asking folks to take action right now and help me at electjon.com, electjon.com.
The Marjorie Taylor Greene started this defection from Donald Trump in her district. I mean, she was the first Trump voter in her district to defect from him. But obviously in those results last night, Donald Trump has a problem in that district now.
Donald Trump has a problem with every side of his coalition. You know, you got folks like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who are longtime MAGA devotees, furious at all the promises that the president made to MAGA, but his administration has broken. And then you got folks just across the state. These are middle-of-the-road folks who tend to vote Republican, sometimes local Republican elected officials who just can't stand the incompetence, the abuses of power, the grotesque corruption. They see this guy and his family raking in billions of dollars from all over the world, while the cost of living crisis in America gets worse and worse. And it's infuriating people, and not just Democrats.
So in the polling, we're seeing that Donald Trump's new war has the lowest support in history of any war in its beginning days. And polling in all war, the support for it declines over time. So it is very likely going down from here. And along with that, there's a massive number, over 2/3 of voters, who say they expect gas prices to continue to go up because of Donald Trump's war.
Look, the thing to remember as well, first of all, energy prices cascade through everything in the economy. Here's another angle. You know, Georgia's number one industry is agriculture. I was on the phone this morning with a cotton grower in Georgia. About a third of the international trade in fertilizer goes through the Strait of Hormuz. And we're coming up on the planting season. So farmers in Georgia and across the country are seeing fertilizer prices now going through the roof, diesel prices now going through the roof. Farmers are already getting hammered in the trade war. The rest of the world is retaliating against American farmers for all of Donald Trump's tariffs. And so this spells potentially very tough times in the weeks and months ahead for American agriculture, which is also going to directly impact food prices.
So Donald Trump actually had this sign on the stage today saying lower prices. I mean, does he think that people don't see the signs on their gas pumps of what those prices are?
I think the president appears increasingly to have lost touch with reality. And that is deeply concerning when you have a White House in which he is surrounded by yes men and yes women who cater to his every need, a cabinet much more concerned with winning his favor than giving him good advice or executing their jobs competently, and the nation now plunged into war. It is a deeply dangerous moment for the country. It speaks to the necessity of winning these midterm elections in a landslide and restoring checks and balances and sanity and competence to the governance of the United States. And so again, I'm asking folks to help at electjohn.com. The Senate race matters. These midterm elections matter. There is an awful lot at stake for our country.
Senator Jon Ossoff, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Thank you, Lawrence.